Sorry, please retract the lawsuit, please, of that. At the end of the day, whatever happens with the lawsuit is what it is. For myself, I needed to make it known on the internet that what I did was wrong, and I don't want to be that person. I don't want to behave that way. I want to make content that I'm proud of. I don't want to give in. But what are you making content that you're proud to a harassment back and forth online? I want to put my energy in starting and making content that I can go out of the guy, the tribal is ashamed of because I lost the plot. I want to stay focused. I want to check in with myself and know what it is I would be, what I would do, and what message I want to spread. And this is a message I would spread. So I'm sorry, Ethan and Ela, and this is Fred and your family. You guys deserve that. I'm going to think about all this a lot more, I'm sure. But for now, I really do want to just get back to making the content that I want to make. Having said all that, I wish everyone the best. I genuinely want to see a better world, and I do not want to be a contributor to what makes it terrible. So, well, bad you are. Anyway, H3 responded apparently. Hi, Ian. Appreciate the thoughtful apology. It means a lot of respect. My duties dropped loss entirely. Based litigious to Israel behavior. You see, Hamas would just give it back to hostages. God would not have been decimated. There's a lot to learn from this. Lock in, boys and girls. This one is gonna get really dark. 250 years of United States of America. God bless our republic. The war is coming to a close. Lots of people are incredibly mad that Donald Trump is doing an extended ceasefire, which is what this quote-unquote peace deal actually is. Everyone thinks it's the end, but it's really a 60-day period. In which case we decide if we can come to terms with each other, and if we can't, we continue bombing them. Everyone doesn't know what's going on. The actual transcript for the deal wasn't released, so we don't really know what's going on. Yet we're seeing panicking in their mind everywhere. One thing I am certain of it was a long ground invasion regime change battle, so let's see how everyone is an idiot except for me. And you, if you're watching the Blue News Network or at Blue Tube News, definitely subscribe. A really interesting media tool right now, which we have to talk about. Leftoids are losing their absolute noggins. There was an attempted explosive drone terror attack on the White House during the 250 UFC event. Hassan Piker and his cronies took a massive L. And this is the craziest twist. The actual UK gay inquiry was released, and it is a billion times worse than everyone was expecting. Lock in. Crazy day, deep dive on all the things. First, White Brother, Saul Goodman. Hi, I'm Saul Goodman. Did you know you have rights? Well, you do. Sure, they're old timey. They were written by a bunch of guys in powder wigs and socks. Boring. But believe it or not, they're still surprisingly relevant. Let's go. Rights include freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, freedom of the press, freedom against unreasonable searches and seizures, etc., etc. Second Amendment. Reason to have weapons. Sorry, I just felt like including that one. Wow, you're lucky, so. Look at you, you got rights coming out the wazoo. Yeah, because a whole bunch of good people, 250 years worth, sacrificed everything they had for this awesome wallpaper behind me. Know your rights. And for the love of Mike, don't ever give up. I'm Mike, and I approve this message. Straight facts, Mr. Saul Goodman, sir. It's time to cook. As we speak, the G7 meeting between the World Cup semi-leaders have gotten together to discuss how glorious and orange the Donald is. As he is the main character of the world right now, it seems, that's just how it seems to go. So, how are you? Earl walks in, says, I'm the boss, and everyone laughs. But they know it's true. Ultimately, what the Donald wants happens. I don't know if you've noticed, but that's basically how the world runs these days. He wants glory, he has glory. He wants peace, he has peace. He wants Israel to bomb them, they bomb them. He wants Israel to stop, they stop. For better or for worse, throws the boss. And he goes, Now, before we get into the deep dive that's going on the war front, with so much misinformation that everyone keeps lying about, because everyone wants clicks and no one actually wants to be real and honest, like the blue chip news is. We're not following PGA news. Okay, it's not happening. So I saw this actually. Someone sent this to me. Grateful for the FBI for stopping the Muslim terrorists who are planning on to attack UFC Freedom 250. We have to remain ever vigilant in the face of Muslim terrorist accusations at stake. I saw this. I was like, what? What is happening? Elon Musk reposted this story. As you can see, 15 million views on Elon's post. On this post, that is another 22.3 million views. This is a massive story. Apparently, there was a horrible, almost catastrophic event at the UFC 250 celebration. An explosive packed drone came buildings to the event, forcing a mass evacuation while mustering crowds towards a pre-staged sniper team. A second wave goes through the White House gate. The FBI first learned of the threat last Wednesday. They worked with law enforcement across multiple states to stop it, and he's now on the phone from FBI Deputy Director Dan Bongino. Dan, thank you for getting on the air with us. What else can you tell us? This is quite a frightening and sobering discovery. You know, if we collect warfare is like, that appears in this early stage. An explosive drone. Ultimately, that is absolutely insane. You know, I think we take for granted that, like, oh, we have lots of enemies. We're a relatively civilized society that people are trying to kill all the time. And I think a lot of the reasons why we say that is because so many of these attacks get thwarted. Thank God. You know, it makes you wonder how many 9/11s would have happened since 9/11 if we just wouldn't have done anything about it. And of course, the absolute shit retards over here. How many of the 24 were working for the FBI? And 24 people worked together to kill the president. And it's like, false flags, his mom is messy. Okay, you wonder why this guy lost. He only lost because he criticized Israel. Israel needs war. Well, that narrative's dead now because Israel wants the war to continue and Trump ends it. Maybe he lost because he calls everything a false flag and he also calls the president a pedophile, maybe? That's pretty bad, I would say. Now, again, once we actually started to get information about these killers, right, it was a whole mix of people. I heard from some sources, like Congressman Randy Klein, that it's Muslim terror. I don't know. This guy says this is actually published. One video posted by Thomas, that's one of the terrorists, 4 days ago, parodies the Daily Show criticizes Trump's decision to strike Iran. All right, so it's pro-Iran people, while another shows footage purported to depict violence against Christians in Gaza and the West Bank. In Israel, Thomas also reposted videos from Tucker Carlson. It seems like these terrorists are actually in war. Tucker Carlson, Islamic simpery, low IQ, Israel controls America thing. And it's honestly insane that it actually came to this. This is fucking abominable. It really is. It's insane that something like this happened. Now, also important to note, this was Hassan Piker just a month ago teaching people how to create explosive drones on Twitch. A platform for children. That's a Shawhead drone. Like, that's crazy. Like, bro, you really actually don't need, like, I was thinking about this with, like, the Afghanistan, the Taliban, Pakistan fight that was taking place. And I was really thinking about this. You really don't need suicide bombing anymore. You know, because like they just do it for God. Like, yeah, oh, you have nuclear arms, but we have like suicide bombers. Like, we'll just blow up your country, suicide bombers, and it's like you really don't need that anymore in drone warfare, right? You don't need that at all. Just make fucking drones. Just you can purchase them from you can purchase them in the online marketplace. Like, oh, China just how to purchase explosive drones. Like explosive ordnance delivery mechanisms that you can put to a DJI drone that you can purchase like at virtually no the guy that knows a lot about terrorist routines cost in comparison to like sophisticated equipment that you need to put together. Wow. So
this guy is something else.
I guess
Should people how to be.
you kind of at that point you're doing that for the love of the game, right? Like you're doing suicide bombing just for the love of the game. But so easy to make drones if he's so like clearly laid out steps for you. So it's really interesting that we have influencers on social media to teach people how to create drones to blow people up. We just had an attempted drone attack on the White House. Pretty weird how that happened. Now back to the matter at hand. And Donald stated Iran had agreed to develop a nuclear weapon. Also, the authority that the U.S. is paying Iran $300 million is paid to put up by the Democrats, President DJT. Well, obviously, we're not giving them any money. Of course, we all know that's true. But yet, once again, just like the whole Epstein files has videos of Trump fucking children or whatever they're lying about, this is also complete lies. And people are just running with it. And I'll just give you examples. Right? So this is just from some retard Twitter account. Breaking: U.S. officials now confirmed an agreement that Iran will get full access to 100 billion funds and 300 billion reconstruction fund. It's just a lie. It's just not true. Marjorie Trader Green, another congresswoman, wanted her gone. Maybe it's because she called Trump a pedophile and also lies constantly. $300 billion with Iran. Trump agreed to give Iran $300 billion. No, he didn't. This is not true. This is literally a lie. All right, we spent 70 billion robbing them. We spent even 50 billion to rebuild them. No, literally no. Not even happening. It's insane. All right, now we need, for some reason, because this is just a lie and a rumor that spread like wildfire. Look, we need to now have American politicians showing up to be like, oh, no, it's not true. this conversation that there be a there wants a reparation fund. Okay, so first off, there will never be a dime of American money to be spent to do any reparations for Guam. All right, then we're not. We're not the party of Obama that throws money like that. Literally, truly, is wrong. No, literally true. And again, this is coming from the people that celebrated the Obama days, where he gave them billions of dollars, and now they're like, I can't they give them billions of dollars. It's truly incredible. All right, Brian, Tyler Cohen, $300 million in Trump's case. It's just not true. They are just actual misinformation merchants, and that's how they operate. They use words to destroy truth, reality. It doesn't matter to these people. They think men can be women. Of course, they're going to lie about this shit. It's not Trump actually addressing this at the G7 because it was such a pervasive lie. Let's say, let's see anyone here, oh my God, it's ridiculous. We have the right to quit something, or do something, or somebody wants to do something. So we don't see anybody with an obligation to do this. Anything. Yeah, so like, just objectively not true. What are we doing now? We got some interesting updates in regards to Netanyahu. If it was going to speak up, Bibi, I remember very well. Bibi came to Washington and begged Obama not to make that deal. And Obama was deciding around, not his deal. And he made a deal. That deal was a disaster. Right now, you have a lot of people criticizing Trump's quote unquote deal. All right, a lot of people asking what Trump is doing here. It really seems like Trump is playing a long game that a lot of people seem to not understand yet. And I'll tell you why. And so far, I've predicted this multiple times already, where he's saying Trump is saying and doing a thing, but it's part of a strategy, and I've been incorrect. I think he's saying and doing a thing, and it's part of a strategy, and we'll see if I'm correct. This so-called deal that everyone's crying about, A, it's not signed yet. It's signed until Friday. B, it's not a peace deal. It's called the Memorandum of Understanding. It is a 60-day pause. Essentially, everyone can do their own shit. No one fires on each other. It's basically an extended ceasefire. And over those 60 days, they are supposed to come to terms with the actual peace agreement, where Donald Trump wants to actually take out all the uranium in Iran, for example, because ultimately that has always been the goal. The goal of America has been to decimate their navy, decimate their air force, obliterate them to the point that they can't fund proxy armies across the world and stop them from ever getting a nuclear weapon. This is literally actual goals from the beginning. Regime change was never one of the goals of the United States of America. He actually followed through the things he said, and I mean, we'll see what happened. My stance is generally speaking, you can never trust these fuckers. I actually personally think you should model shit at them. Right? They played around enough. They played around. I would say too much, and it's time for them to die. Right? That's my opinion. Obviously, a lot of people, like including the Donald, disagree. But hey, I give the benefit of the doubt to actually see what happened. So, just to reiterate, we don't know what the deal actually says if people are already crashing out. The deal wasn't signed. All right, so it literally doesn't exist yet. And C, and the most important, this is just a memorandum of understanding for a 60-day period, and if nothing gets figured out by then, go back to bombing them. Right? So it is insane to me to watch people freak out, and it is counterproductive. Every single person, I've seen a lot of crash outs on like Mark Levin and Ben Shapiro and all these guys just crashing out over this. Holy shit, dude. Not only do you destroy your own cause by doing that, we don't freaking know anything yet. What are we doing here? Like unbelievable levels of like theory going on everywhere. I'm telling you, man, panicking. Who are these guys? Have a little faith that the guy that worked so hard to get elected is actually going to do things that you more or less like and are beneficial for us, and also have faith in God that we can deal with the nuclear apocalyptic regime like Iran. All right, so we'll see what happens ultimately. But Eddie, I think it's important to address that Israel is still bombing the shit out of terrorists in Lebanon, and Lebanon is still bombing Israeli cities. Israel is intercepting that because, unlike the inbred 85 IQ retarded Hezbollah terrorists, Israel has an average IQ of 105, technologically advanced for power. It's from those same bastards. All right, anywho. What are the expectations from Israel? Can this deal survive Israel? It can, and I consider that final war. It's a big one, but we have that new pinprick out there constantly rears its head.
And that's Hezbollah.
Man, look at
And, you
I
know,
think it'll
who's responsible for Syria? The man that's running Syria is a person that I put there along with President Erdogan and some others.
yeah, I don't like Jelani, the ISIS guy that's currently in charge of Syria. But anyway,
He's done an amazing job pulling international and Boy Scout exercise and he's like so that's his job of pulling it together. And he is very good with Hezbollah. Does not like them. And I'll tell you what, Israel's fighting everyone to them all. And too many people they kill. And you don't have to knock down an apartment house every time you might just because there are a lot of people in those apartment houses.
yeah, which is why they literally send out leaflets to clear out the apartment houses and evacuation requests before they bomb the apartment houses. I get what Trump is doing, though. Trump is honestly kind of a genius here. He wants to end things with Iran completely. Iran wants Hezbollah to survive. Trump wants Hezbollah to die. Trump, in my opinion, is trying to come up with a strategy where he can get Syria to take care of Hezbollah instead of Israel. Therefore, Iran could sign the peace deal with him. I think it's a little unrealistic, personally. I don't see Syria successfully dispatching Hezbollah. And ultimately, we don't have Trump telling Israel not to do it either. Israel is not beholden to this agreement. They didn't sign on it. Hey, and if they want to keep bombing terrorists, fuck yes, actually. Right? Hezbollah, not only did they terrorize the Israelis and the Syrians, but they have terrorized the Lebanese people as well. They massacred Lebanese Christians, like by the thousands. All right, literally, fuck these people. And I'm really grateful that Israel is bombing the fuck out of it. Now, fortunately, Secretary Rubio made it clear that Iran and Hezbollah are not linked in the deal. Israel does not need Iran's permission to defend itself. The tether of terror must end. Again, I said from the get-go, I really think this could be a big brain, good cop, bad cop strategy. Trump spreads his arms. He says, let's make peace, and Israel deals with the Hezbollah problem on their lawn. And honestly, that's actually pretty looking story, depending on how this all wraps up, obviously. Now, the novel states that Qatar will invest 19 trillion into the United States.
Qatar's going to be investing much more than $1 trillion in the United States. We have over 18, it's going to be 19. People feel it's money for get out of it. We said that there's no country in this space that's we have almost 19.1, 19.2 trillion dollars invested in the United States. The record was 10 years ago from an country when it was hot. We were the hottest country in the world right now. But Qatar's been a really invested.
Yeah, so Qatar. Remember when everyone said that? Iran, Arab nations in the Gulf, they know some stuff. Seems like that's not the case with like they're investing $19.2 trillion now. My fear, obviously, with Qatari investment is that there's strings attached. All right, like they basically bought our university system. I find this very scary. Obviously, it's fantastic news on all fronts. A, injection of money is always nice, absolutely. B, obviously, it proves that our alliance with our allies in the region are stronger than literally ever. But there is that fear there that comes along with Qatar investments, for sure. Now, Reza Pahlavi is the crown prince of Iran, the GOAT. All right, the exiled prince has signed a memorandum of understanding for peace. The Islamic Republic just executed two more protesters from January 8th and 9th. This is the consequence of making a deal with the criminal regime. To do a deal with a regime that brought more than 40,000 protesters in 2 days in January and poorly planned and strategically misguided. Dealing with this regime will fail, and we will all face the consequences. This regime's 47-year war against the Iranian people continues. Just as it has never made peace with its own citizens, it will never truly make peace with the world. The international community should back the people of Iran's fight for freedom, but put them centered in negotiation and in their Iran policy. But let me be clear. With or without international support, this regime will fall. The people of Iran will liberate themselves from tyranny. I really hope so, and I pray for these things. Now, I think it's important to note a deal didn't happen yet. And I think it's also important to note in the United States of America's greatest interest is that the actual military of the Islamic Republic of Iran is closed, all right? Because they've committed unbelievable acts of terror against us. They've killed thousands of us. They've attacked all of our allies, basically. They are threatening to nuke us. They have 60% enriched uranium. From the America First perspective, which is how I view politics in general, we need them to not even be a remote threats to us. Of course, I think as a moral good, absolutely, I want to see the people of Iran rise up and overthrow their people. But I do not want to be stuck in a decade-long regime change, infinite ground invasion war. I'm more of the mind of bomb the ever-loving shit out of those pups that move on in life. Right? That is more my stage when it comes to warfare. I actually think we should be winning wars. I actually don't really want to make peace with them at all. All right, I'm looking to unconditional surrender or die. All right, that is my stance in warfare in general. And again, I'm not going to be panicking at least until I see how it all wraps up. So this is Trump on the Iran deal once again.
Democrats. The Democrats. Well, what I'd like to do is second guns, saying you shouldn't develop it. I'll get out of
That's right, baby. Reverse Trump logic every single time. And now, again, one of the most underrated clips of the day that no one is talking about because everyone's out panic.
So that person will understand me. I don't like it.
Everyone that calls this a peace deal is intentionally muddying the waters. Okay, it is not a peace deal. It is a 60-day period where they can figure shit out and make a peace deal. And if that doesn't work,
back to shooting at dropping bombs at them. If I don't like it, if they don't behave, we go right back to dropping bombs right smack in the middle of that.
that's right, baby.
Okay.
Actually, just have
Here for 47 years.
great bubble.
Right. But nobody could have made this deal.
Okay, make the deal. Right? Deal ever. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. All right, here he said that all the world leaders love the deal.
Nations have many presidents and prime ministers, as you saw here. Prime Minister Lonnie was here, and we'll talk. It's like they were thrilled that we made a deal to the war. There's no one nation that came to us and said, please keep dropping bombs on them.
Yeah, incredible hot take. The Eurocuts fucking suck. They're run by Islam anyway. And also, they just want the straight up so they don't give a shit about peace. They don't give a shit about the future. All right, and they don't give a shit about any of that. So their opinion actually means literally nothing to me. Well, look at Rubio squirming by. Because I think Rubio is definitely more high-minded when it comes to shit like this. I think he wants to obliterate these guys. I think he realizes they fucking suck and they need to die. Student unconditional surrender or death. Meanwhile, you have people in Israel saying, I can confirm that Israel formally requested access to the Iran Memorandum of Understanding and was denied! Literally 9/11 for people that think Israel controlled America. Right? They're not even seeing the deal or the memorandum. Right? A remarkable and highly unusual development between close allies on an issue of national security importance. Yeah, obviously, especially when we literally fought side by side with these guys. Then, of course, you have Shane Yuker, Turkish retard in comments. He likes having sex with animals. I thought I should just mention. It's because we don't trust you. Oh, really? Oh, really? So, on one hand, we love Israel and Israel controls us. On the other hand, we don't trust Israel. These guys are actually insane as well. Meanwhile, Iran, Paris, fired several drones toward commercial ships in the Strait of Hormuz since the beginning of the U.S.-Iran Memorandum of Understanding, according to NBC News and the Jerusalem Post. So they are not standing by their shit. It seems like they're still pretty shattered on the inside in regards to who's actually in charge. Literally shock and horror. The Iranians did not keep their word. They went to the side. Literally. You mean to tell me that the Islamic Republic of Iran lied? I believe it. And this is why I personally do not like worry. I have faith. I have faith in God. All right? That the injustice that has been facing the actual Iranian people will die. Right? I also agree that that the Donald isn't just going to let this happen. After he made all this tweets saying, "Hey, rise up, keep fighting and stuff. We got your back." Look, I'm telling you, I think something else is cooking out there, and I guess we have to wait 60 days to see if I'm right or if I'm delusional. I'm willing to take the L if, all of a sudden we just leave and they control the strait, or we don't dig out their uranium and shit. All right, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But ultimately, I'm pretty confident that something big is happening. Tucker Carlson, of course, brings Trita Parsi, a pro-American. Pro-American. Trita Parsi is literally a lobbyist for the Islamic Republic. Holy shit, dude. It is insane that he does this every time. Literally the first fucking document. It's wild watching that. Candace Owens, also probably a foreign operative. Via FOIA, we formally requested Cash Patel's travel itinerary for 3 days leading up to Charlie Kirk's assassination. And we heard back that we were told The burden of the request is too great. How is that? Wow, that's actually great. The burden is too great. Anyway, the FBI responded again, so if you're candid, please show us any document that sends to you acknowledging your employer because we said the burden of the request is too great. Your shows and all the fake news media will be called out when you lie. Bro, it's just miserable that these foreign operatives are tearing us to shreds. Right? It's insane. All right, meanwhile, I just wanted to share some beautiful news today. 230 female doctors graduated in so that's actually fantastic news. I just have to say, first genocide ever.
Wait,
Love it, graduate college is absolutely huge. In fact, they're still calling it a genocide to this day, by the way. Right? It's just congratulations to all these victims of genocide over here. All right, no, I've never seen a Nazi, please, Palestine, believe. Oh, really? Hitler literally met with the Grand Poobah because they had a very similar goal. Are you serious? All right, now let's just understand exactly where this war leaves up. GDP per capita in the 1990s and Israel and Iran tied at around 13,000 apiece. In 2026, Israel's around 69, 70,000. Iran's at 3,000, literally a quarter of what it was, 35 years ago. It's just absolutely mind boggling dominance going on over there. Right? And quite honestly, it's kind of wild watching retards continue. So, Julio, in 2015, dropped this, all right, and a lot of people are talking about it. It's a ring so true even to today.
Let's see what like to close on this matter. I think everything that needs to be said about the details of this deal are. I do want to be reported.
This is talking about the original fungus.
For its purposes. Before I know what was going to happen in regards to this, if it goes through. Iran will immediately use the money that it's receiving in sanctions relief to begin to build up its conventional capabilities. It will establish the most dominant military power in the region outside of the United States, and it will raise the price of us operating in the region. They're going to build anti-access capabilities, rockets capable of destroying our aircraft carriers and ships.
They try to
continue to build these swift boats that are able to come on as these fast boats that are able to swarm our naval assets. And it'll make it harder and harder for U.S. troops to be in the region. They'll also work with other terrorist groups in the region to target American servicemen and women.
They did that.
And they may or may not deny that they're involved. They will target us.
They denied it, and then they said that we only have peace if you also not get
our presence in the Middle East until they hope to completely pull us out of that region. They'll also continue to build long-range missiles capable of reaching the United States. Those are not affected by this deal.
They did not reach the United States, but they did have missiles that would reach every capital city in all of Europe, which they lied about, by the way. This was proven through this war.
And they'll continue to build them as they've been doing. And then at some point in the near future, when the time is right, they will build a nuclear weapon. And they will do so because at that point they will know that they have a 60% enriched uranium coming in. That we will no longer be able to strike their nuclear program because the price of doing so will be too high. This is not just a work of imagination. It exists in the world today. It's called North Korea, where a lunatic possesses dozens of nuclear weapons and a long-range rocket that can already reach the United States. And we cannot do anything about it.
That's right.
An attack on North Korea today would result in an attack on Tokyo, or Seoul, or Guam, or Hawaii, or California. And so the world must now live with a lunatic in possession of a nuclear weapons. And this is the goal Iran has as well. To reach a point where they become immune to any sort of credible military threat because the price of a military strike would be too high. And then they become an established nuclear weapons power. And never in the history of the world has such a regime ever possessed weapons so capable of destruction. Iran is led by a supreme leader who is a radical Shiite cleric with an apocalyptic vision of the future. He is not a traditional geopolitical actor who makes decisions on the basis of borders of civil history or because of ambitions. He has an religious apocalyptic vision of the future, one that calls for triggering a conflict between the non-Muslim world and the Muslim world, one that he feels especially obligated to trigger. And he's going to possess nuclear weapons. This is the world we are on the verge of leaving our children to inherit. And perhaps we ourselves will have to share it. And so I want to be reported for these purposes, if nothing else, to say that those of us who opposed this deal understood where it would lead. And we are making a terrible mistake. And I fear that the passage of this deal will make it even harder for us to prevent it. And I hope that there's still time to change our minds, but here's the good news. Iran may have a supreme leader, but America does not. In this nation, we have a republic.
And soon we will have new leaders, perhaps in this chamber, but also in the executive branch. And I pray that on their first day in office, they reverse the steal and reimpose the sanctions and back them up.
Which is exactly what Trump did in 2016.
Up with a credible threat of military force.
And there was a threat to the point that the threat actually happened.
For history will condemn us for not doing what needed to be done at this critical moment of the world system.
So just absolute fucking mic drop speech in 2015, ringing super true thing. And Rubio, Secretary of State of the United States of America, to make sure that however this war, conflict, whatever you want to call it, actually does wrap up, it will leave Iran completely and utterly trickling and helpless, ultimately to the actual oppressed people of Iran, because guys have been overthrow that. But ultimately, the goal of this entire war, what we're getting about, was to stop their actual military capabilities, nuclear ambitions, and funding of proxy armies across the world. If we could get all of those three things completely done, with zero boots on the ground, we lost some lives, but despite that being absolutely heartbreaking, the casualties, from a military standpoint, were minimal. Thank God. It absolutely fucking sucks to see everyone just coping off of a fake peace deal that doesn't exist, making believe they know it's in it, but it hasn't been signed yet, not engaging with the reality that there is a 60-day memorandum of understanding. It doesn't say if we actually need to go back to war, or if we can neutralize all three of these major threats purely through negotiation. The neocons that want to put boots on the ground for 10 years to install a regime. Once those guys have they lost, W for me. The isolationists that think that actually should let Iran have a nuclear weapon, they should never go to war or bomb literally anyone, everyone, anywhere, because we're absolute cucks. They said we get boots on the ground. They sent thousands of soldiers. They said it triggered World War III. Well, they were fucking wrong, weren't they? And all the Israel firsters, the ones that say that we're actually controlled by Israel, and every bad thing that happens to the United States, the reason why you rob at a gas station is because of Israel somehow. That's also the reason why you can't get a girlfriend. You were all wrong. Because this has proved without a shadow of a doubt that, if anything, we control Israel. Netanyahu is almost certainly losing his next election because the Israeli public is so upset that this war didn't end up with obliterating the fuck out of the enemy. And yet, despite knowing that, Trump told them to do, because ultimately we give them billions of dollars a year and they pretty much follow whatever we tell them. I personally would cut off all foreign aid. I would stop giving aid to Israel. I would stop giving aid to Ukraine and NATO, of which we give much more than Israel, by the way, because then that does absolutely nothing for us. I would cut off foreign aid. Whatever we do gain from Israel right now through our relationship, we should pay for. We shouldn't call it aid. We should do a partnership. We should pay for whatever assistance we actually get. Making Israel completely sovereign, and if Israel wants to keep bombing the fuck out of Iran or Hezbollah or whatever, it's like, hey, that's not our business. You can keep take care of all of our enemies. W, let's fucking go. We get them or their operation. Literally W on all sides, and this happens. All the worst people on every side, every drama is retarded. Permission to chit out is not granted until the end of the memorandum of understanding that this 60-day period actually passes. In the meantime, I'm grateful that we don't have terrorists shooting at our soldiers right now. I'm also really grateful that Israel is doing what needs to be done, obliterating Hezbollah, which, for those of you that don't remember, killed hundreds of our men. The fact that people think that this is just a really dumb guy did, and every single military advantage on the planet, you have to be fucking retarded and really high on the clue. The only time will tell if I'm right, everyone else is retarded and wrong. But hey, that's just a theory. That's theory. Subtract. Now, shaky events is everywhere in the news right now. It's a very, very interesting reason. And that reason, which I will reveal later, will shock you. So first, he goes viral with this post. So 3 Giants pitchers will violent person on a Friday night's Cats during Friday's game, because obviously it's just accepted in the public zeitgeist that of course you have to be pro-sodomy. It's absolutely abominable. This became so public to the point that you are a bigot for not supporting abominable degeneracy. I actually did this out to my band the other day. I say, you notice that every single character in every movie and TV show happens to be a literal. Every single one. Unless they're a bad guy, they're all literal. Isn't that weird? Isn't that weird how that happens? It's almost like saying that, hey, it's totally normal. I have sex with other men, but it's not normal to believe in God. Think that, hey, that's actually kind of gross. I'm serious. Let's get your friends. All right, your average cop show will always have that one cop that always comes out of London is gay, and all the friends accept them and say, yo, I love that you're gay, it's so awesome for you. And the bigoted dad is a really hard time accepting their son. Except the bigoted dad realizes that actually Kamala Harris would the sex traffickers at the border. Anyway, we get moving on. So JD responded, based, by the way, strike one, we don't have to do this anymore. Based, and it's with video viral. 10 million views, 128,000 likes, just absolute really, really good stuff. Now JD has been going really viral. It's been saying a lot of the right thing. A lot of the right thing. I am going to make it be a little bit. I'm just going to say this a little bit. JD been incredibly close ties to people like Tucker Carlson and Peter Thiel, the gay guy that runs Palantir. And I will say, I think JD Vance is a people pleaser. Now, I think he's really good at what he does. And I think he says the right things very often. But I think partially the reason why he says the things is because he wants people to like him, as opposed to necessarily them being necessarily steadfast beliefs. Now, again, I don't know. I'm just a little sussed out. He did an entire media tour over the last day. Right, so first he makes this post in regards to the memorandum of understanding between the United States of America and the Islamic goat bunkers of Iran.
Vice President Vance here to talk a little bit about what is in the Iran deal, the great peace deal that the President of the United States made last night.
Just to be clear, this is muddying the waters. There isn't a peace deal. The peace deal is supposed to be in 60 days. Is currently being signed between President Trump and Iran. It's called the Memorandum of Understanding. It is a 60-day ultimate, I guess, extended ceasefire period where people will stop shooting at each other for 60 days. Let me see what happens. But in regards to whether they're willing to actually submit all of our demands or we keep bombing, or as I've made very clear earlier. But that is the case. This is not a peace deal. Vance, in my opinion, is trying to appeal to the people, the isolationist part of the actual Republican base, by saying it's a peace deal. Now this is 2028 campaign.
Number one, what this deal means is that the Straits of Hormuz are open immediately. You're already seeing oil and gas prices come down just in the past 24 hours. Number two, it ensures that Iran will never have a nuclear weapon. And you have to back up for a second and appreciate that what the president has done is completely decimated Iran's nuclear program. Now, this deal really has two pathways. On the one hand, if the Iranians make the long-term commitments never to rebuild, then they're going to be welcomed into the world economy. If, on the other hand, they try to rebuild that nuclear program, they're never going to have the resources in order to do so. So it's okay with the American people.
That sounds pretty damn good. The major issue with Iran is them, right? And this is when it comes to, I think that is how our politics should run. So I think he's right about this. However, you're trusting these people.
We ensure Iran doesn't have a nuclear weapon either way, and now it's really up to the Iranians. Over the next few months, we're going to see if they're serious about dismantling that program for the long term. If they do, the president has said we want their country to be successful. But what we know is that our country is successful thanks to great presidential leadership and a lot of good decisions. Thank you, guys.
So essentially, hopefully Iran could shape up and become a normal country. Yeah, they won't under the current Islamic Republic leadership. But ultimately, I guess time will tell. Time will tell what actually happens. Now, again, Vance makes it very clear we are not going to give them any money. Right? We are not giving any money to Iran. This is a lie posted by everyone. I'm really glad Vance is actually clarifying it. But the real viral story is that Jay Vance is on The View. All right, understand, The View is the Trump bad show. It's just new Trump bad every day. Literally. That is the entire show, and Vance went on the show. Same day as the Iran deal. Pay attention to how this all comes together.
So let's fucking watch.
If you want to see somebody on TV, just sit there, in my case, giant heads. Hide something on it. That's right.
We have the table on big heads here.
So this is a show with MAGA Republicans, right? That's right. It's
Yes. He's just surrounded by MAGA Republicans, hardcore medical leftist women that all love Trump. Right now, just understand The View. He's a fascist and a Nazi. Also, The View. Oh no, get a photo together. Let's get a photo together with the fascist Nazi. I said this so many times. Not one of them actually believes the things that they say. It is unbelievable watching this collapse. Right? But understand how obvious it is. Right? They think he's Hitler. They think he's fucking Hitler, and they're photo walking with the guy. You can never trust any of the things they say. Ultimately, every single one of these people in the room would rather a Republican be president if we actually had it. If shit ever hit the fan. All right, they would. They would. Because they know who has best. Right, and it's insane. Now, France is dismantles them every single thing they throw at it. He just absolutely shreds. And one of the major reasons why I want to point this out here is even though Vance is not the ideal Republican candidate, in my opinion, like he strikes me as a guy that's a little bit too pro-Indian immigration, a little too tied up to like the Sauron's eye of Peter Thiel and Palantir. He's a little too chummy with Tucker and Carlson's of the world who are selling out our country, and currently he is the face of the Iran deal. All right, now pay attention to how Trump is doing this. This is part of the plan too. That's one. I too. I too. I would still never ever vote for it. Right? So even though I have my criticisms, and I don't think Vance is like the ideal ultimate do the perfect candidate, I do like him ultimately, and I would never vote for a leftist. Never, never. That's why when I see like, you see Nick Witness or whatever crashing out of the Republican Party and they look for a leftist, are you fucking insane? Are you like actually insane?
I would say fundamentally that one of the things I underappreciated about Donald Trump is that so many of the things that people said about him weren't actually true. Again, they're talking about humility. Okay, so I see Donald Trump, I see a clip of him, or I see even not even a clip of him, but reporting about something that he said, and I take it at face value. For example, let's just go back to one of the most controversial things Donald Trump said during the first term that I was wrong in the first campaign, is that I was led to believe by the stories. I read stories that said Donald Trump said that all Mexicans were rapists. He never said that. What he said is that the certain South American countries, Central American countries, were releasing criminals into our country, including Mexico. By the way, that was objectively true. So there's not so much Christians.
Standards. People came across the country. Now, don't deport any illegal, but no one ever came in. Just understand.
Trump did that in 1980 with the Mariel boat lift. There have been many, many journalists, including CNN, where you used to work and be my colleague, that have tried to find evidence of that. There is no evidence that Maduro was releasing people from insane asylums or jails like Fidel Castro did do. This was made up. And we just can't, accept it without pushing back.
And we know that there were people who released from prisons who were encouraged to come to the United States.
That's Mariel, Mr. Vice President. It was her.
They technically airdropped the prisoners in Dark Country. They just released them and gave them a book and told them, I cut out, they'll figure it out. Right? It's a totally different thing. And Vance is just shredding them.
Where it was like a purposeful open up the jails, open up the insane asylums, and let people flood Florida. I just feel that Miami.
If you go, it may not look like Mariel, but if you go back to the caravans that were happening in 22, 22, 23, we know that those things were funded. They were in some ways supported by the government. I don't have any to find support or not support, but if people are encouraged to come into our country after having spent time in prison by their own governments, I think that's a problem.
Just true. Technically, they didn't airdrop people. You're right. They just funded caravans of cartels to bring them in. A totally different thing. Right? Well, right now you have to see shred on the Epstein file stuff because this is one of the biggest. And Trump, by the way, was fucking on the ball when he said the Epstein files are kind of crap hoax. Not that Epstein ever raped kids. Obviously, Epstein was an absolute monster. But the fact that Trump is tied to it is an absolute hoax. There's no evidence of it. He was completely right.
Check this, but one of the things you see in the Epstein emails is that Jeffrey Epstein hated Donald Trump.
Objectively true. And he's taking these bitches to their face.
And that Donald Trump technically reported Jeffrey Epstein to the police. That's what he
Yes, he reported Epstein to the FBI in 2016.
These
Best friends for about a decade. Remember, he said
Before anything, there were, first of all, I don't know about best friend. That's literally, she pulled that out of her ass. But yes, they were chummy because they were both billionaires that lived remotely in similar places. They had interests in politics. They were both Democrats at the time. All right, just understand. And this was in like the 90s. Okay, this was long before he was ever even accused of anything.
find that Transparency Act under duress when some Republican women, Congresswomen like Lauren Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Greene did not give in to this pressure. To the Situation Room to pressure her into caving on not voting for that bill.
So let me respond to that. So let me respond to that. So number one is yes, Donald Trump said this.
You get one woman that lies about something, and then you get the second woman who says that's actually true about the lie that the first woman said. Is this the leftist or Robert so just eating your own shit?
He knew Jeffrey Epstein back in the 1980s. He also drew Jeffrey Epstein out of his club when he found out it was a creep and reported him to the police. That's something that the media often misses.
Yeah.
Yeah, they tell us the fact that they knew each other in the 80s, which the president himself admits. They ignore the fact that he narked on him to the police and led ultimately to Jeffrey Epstein's downfall. To that point, Adam, you don't know the Republican Party is down. Well, it's one of the things that led to law enforcement investigation, but on the point that you make.
Allegedly over a real estate deal that they had got into a fight over.
The email says actually it's an email.
Let's just be truthful and transparent. They didn't just know each other.
What do you? There's already evidence to the contrary. I love that there's no evidence to any of the things. It's just all headcanon. They are living in their own soap opera.
Friendless old friends.
He reported him to the police. That's what I'm saying. That is objective. That is objectively true. I would be if I may. A very important point. This question about did Donald Trump release these files only under duress from Republicans? And Anna, you know the Republican Party probably better than I do. The idea that Donald Trump runs around afraid of Republican congressmen as opposed to the other way around is kind of crazy.
Bipartisan.
Yeah. So again, like it's just shredding them. Because they just have lies. Now the truth is, this is a New York Post release that just happened. Jeffrey Epstein was obsessed with trying to take down Trump before suicide, report says. Like objectively, it's true. It's objectively true. Right? Well, from this batch of emails, right, you had Epstein hated Trump, he hated Christ and conservatives, he hated Israel and conspired against it, which is true. He collaborated with Ehud Barak, the leftist Israeli prime minister that wanted to give away land to Palestine, and he was a pedophile. Right? Turns out Epstein was your average leftist influencer. That's just where we're at, man. No one wants to admit it. 89% of his donations were to leftists. He funded transgender research and quarantining for viruses and vaccines. Right? He was funding schools and shit to push leftoid propaganda. He was an actual leftist globalist that was friends with all the leaders and shit. It was really fucking weird. Right? The reality is he tried to prevent Trump from becoming the president. Alright, and this is Forbes, a left-wing article. Epstein was trying to hop across the dirt on Trump, report says, but didn't have anything. If this isn't the most obvious shattering of reality ever, I don't know. And the crazy part is the left is still running with the story that, oh, well, Trump's a pedophile, guy. And it's insane. Now, alright, she tries so hard to get Vance on this. It's just fucking kills her.
And you were talking about people. What did black people do to this administration that has allowed it to really stigmatize folks of color?
And the factory of stigmatizing black people is extremely retarded.
And you know how hard it is. You have folks of color in your family.
Sure.
So when you see, things like the Emmett Till stuff coming down, or them doing all kinds of removal of information of black heroes.
Black heroes are removing information about? What are we even talking about?
How does that sit with you?
Well, what exactly are you talking about?
I can tell you that. You know what I was talking about. So in a lot of the museums, there's so many. I just
give one example.
where they're taking down the actual history that happened in this country. Slavery happened.
Is Trump taking slavery out of history? Is that what the left is accusing Trump of? Listen, man, all I know is that America ended slavery. I know that white people decided to end slavery across as much of the world as they possibly could. Thank God for imperialism. But yeah, that is one thing that I know for a fact happened. I'm sorry, man. I know that that was a thing. I don't see you bringing that up about white history. But I hope you start to understand something. This is a trend for basically all activists in the community. You can just make up black history, actually.
All kinds of stuff happened, and it seems that it has been very easy for this administration to remove it, and also
what we still have not established what has been removed by
to denigrate black folks who have worked there behind you to get this American dream.
Like who?
I mean, you have
blacks, the sheeple in the audience. I don't even know what we're talking about.
So I mean, that was actually very helpful intervention because I think the story you're talking about is where allegedly the administration is holding back the appointments of people based on skin color. I've seen this story.
So things I'm talking about Black history getting erased from public
Like
spaces.
what?
Black
Like what? What?
districts are being dismantled.
Race. We should not have race-based segregated districts because, God believes that all people obviously, right? Everyone, man is made in the image of God, so God believes that, obviously. Martin Luther King believed that wanted people to be treated based on the content of their character, not the color of their skin. Babes, we should not have little fucking ghetto slave communities that all vote for Democrat. Duh. Makes it based on population, not on race, so they can get steal votes. Babes, I'm not gonna let that shit slide.
Black leaders are being sidelined from ranks.
Like, do we have any examples of any of these things? What are we even talking about?
Where do Americans of color fit in this vision? Because it doesn't seem like
I don't know, get a job, I guess. What am I supposed to say?
we fit.
I think so.
October of last year, there's been something like 6,668 refugees allowed into the country,
And
but 3 were white South
music to my ears.
Africans.
Babes,
Person,
babes. You mean we opened up the border to high skill, high IQ, intelligent people from South Africa that were literally getting genocided by the retarded, racist, black government there? Babes, yes, that is exactly what the immigration system should do. We should be taking high IQ, high skilled people that work hard, that love our country and our culture, and also we're doing it to save these people from unlawful racist persecution in South Africa. Babes, we should not be taking infinite retards from the third world that make our country worse.
I'm very skeptical of that number because we have a lot of different immigration pathways in the United States of America.
Actually, Vance is wrong about this. Actually, so far, thank God. Thank God. We only got white immigrants so far since. Shut up. Man, that's brutal. Also, thanks. That's what I go with.
Let me just address these people. First of all, you asked the question, and maybe you don't believe this coming from me, but I think everybody is welcome in our political coalition. Frankly, even if you didn't vote for us, everybody is welcome in our country, so long as you're an American citizen with the duties and the legal obligations and rights to be here. But let me just give you an example. Okay, so you said
Right to make someone feel a little uncomfortable, you know what I'm saying?
in time, you're in time.
I didn't say that. I asked. See,
Okay, fine. Fair.
I missed up.
This interpreted your question. Let me answer your actual question there. What I'm saying, I think, okay, look at Washington, D.C. One of the most democratic and one of the blackest, by share of population, blackest cities in the United States of America, has seen a radical decrease in violent crimes and sexual assaults and in murders.
Actually, that's crazy because you're locking up the black folks. Right? Sorry, what do you want me to say? Yes, they locked up black people at violent crime stops. Listen, man, it's a coincidence. I'm just saying.
We have tried to take the crime issue seriously, in part because we believe everybody, whether you're black or white or rich or poor, deserves to live in a safe neighborhood.
Why is crime stepping up? This is not about this is about their jobs. This is about
I guess they should have worked harder. I guess they should have been better employees. What do you want me to say? If it's Trump's fault that people are firing black women,
this is society.
You're
human rights aren't real, by the way. It's a little social construct that the left invented and they make you want to care about.
thing is we got to do all the economy.
And Black history is race.
Like what? It's not what? Think about what Black history was race.
That is true. When we get back,
Yes,
very
I'm telling you, we celebrate Black history. We celebrate all American history in this administration.
Yeah, it's honestly miserable watching this whole shit. Yes, son. Just keeps fucking killing it. Already, like every single finger that they throw on it gets absolutely dismantled.
Having criminal record, they had a sex trafficking type shit.
Right, so other people getting deported. It's not a sorry. They invaded the country illegally. They have to go. That's why we have borders. We have borders so that people can't just mosey in here whenever they want. They're here illegally. They have to go. We are well past the discussion on undocumented migrants. Every single one of them needs to go.
These people that ISIS rounding up and taking out of their aims from their family. They're separating families.
They're to be fair, the family can go with them if they want.
They're using children as bait. The majority are not critical.
Yeah, they are.
So you talk about the children. Here's what I'd say. Did you know that during the last administration, we had tens of thousands of children who were sex trafficked?
Hundreds of thousands of children missing over Biden's term because of the open border.
The cartels were brought into our country in profoundly dangerous and predatory conditions. But here's the point. If the administration stopped it, you can fight that kind of conduct. You think that our immigration policies are inhumane based on the reporting of one person with a political bias. What I'm telling you is that it's inhumane to allow cartels to sex traffic people across
Please hold on.
I appreciate that. How do you get you back in?
We're coming back. We're going with the vice president.
Yeah. All right. So anyway, it's absolutely wild. It is wild watching him just tear these people to shreds. It's insane. Now, fans, I want you to pay attention to what's going on. So, Fans was on Fox News, as I already showed you. He has been on every single media outlet I could find. Here he is on NBC News. All right, there he was before. I showed you a second ago on Fox. All right, so then he went on The View. All right, then he went on CNN. Right, Vance is the face of the deal. You have to understand what that means. Vance is the face of the Iran deal. I make that very clear. Right, so here's Vance on CNN.
The coolest thing about the progress we've made in the last few weeks is that you see people within the Iranian system, senior leadership, even IRGC officials say, you know what? We may have some animosity, we may have some mistrust, but we recognize the way that we've done business with the United States for 4 to 7 years is a mistake. Let's try something else. We're going to verify that, of course, but we're certainly willing to try something else if they comply.
Yeah, so why not take this? That's not true. I don't think that the Islamic regime is like, you used to be American, but now I don't know. Literally, the president of Iran right now is the guy that was lighting American flags on fire in their parliament, chanting "Death to America." He doesn't give names. He doesn't give specifics. I don't believe this, actually. I think this is just a lie. And the craziest part is the next part of this gigantic media tour just over the last 24 hours. He goes on Megyn Kelly's show. All right, tomorrow on Megyn Kelly show, that was yesterday. Vice President J.D. Vance. All right, Paul J.D. Vance. Megyn Kelly. The reason why this is super weird is because Megyn Kelly's been shitting on Trump the entire election. All right, Donald Trump said, I know I come your guns, and Megyn Kelly, Candace-owned, low IQ, right? Megyn Kelly, Castelline, the now famous only Rosie without a question on crazy Candace, right? Again, this is Trump's enemies, and he's going on their shows all the time. Now, this actual show that he was on with Megyn Kelly is suspicious, as you can tell from a little watermark in the corner. It was broadcasted on Russian state media. All right? Oh, my God. This interview was on Russian TV. Now, listen to how Vance describes the deal.
I think that fundamentally, if you look at what they're proposing an endless conflict. They want this to go on until every bomb has been dropped or until every Iranian is into. I think,
I'll be honest with you. I don't know who's saying that. I don't know who is saying to nuke Iran. I don't know anyone that's saying that every Iranian needs to die, that every bomb needs to be dropped. It sounds like Vance is creating a false opposition to try to win back the isolationists or the pro-Islam guys that want to make believe that Iran is not actually a problem. All right, and I think it's really weird. So again, here he's explaining why they didn't make the text of the memorandum of understanding transparent, which, in my opinion, is a really big issue. They never actually explained what's happening.
Why can't they see? Why can't we all see the envelope right now?
Great question.
Yeah, so first of all, the president said by the latest Friday, possibly as early as tomorrow, we'll release the memorandum of understanding text. The reason why we haven't released again is there are some delicate diplomatic things going on where the Iranians, and not just the Iranians, but some of the mediators, the Pakistanis and Qataris have asked us to sequence this in the right way.
I actually don't care about the sequence according to the Pakistanis and the Qataris and the Iranians. To be honest, I care about the sensitivities of the Americans. And that's my issue here. I feel like we're kind of put on the sideline. Right now, this is pretty wild. And this is a massive update that no one else is talking about.
How about Hezbollah in Lebanon? Because that's proxy that they're funding,
Yep.
and
that can easily clear this deal, could clear this deal this week, people fear. Never mind on a go forward basis. Either side, Israel or Hezbollah.
Sure. Look, it's always delicate with these things, and what we've seen with this ceasefire in Lebanon, and it's been clear, to be clear, a dirty ceasefire. There's been some shooting back and forth, but frankly,
It's very CC fire.
there's way less shooting now than there was 2 weeks ago. There's way less shooting 2 weeks ago than there was before. So with these things, the President of the United States said a couple weeks ago, he said sometimes a ceasefire just means they're shooting less, and that's the progress. And then you get to the next stage.
Is it included? Is Lebanon included?
Here we go. It's an interesting one.
It's going to include the Gulf. It's going to include Israel. It's going to include Lebanon. The idea is this is a true regional peace deal because
How do you do that without Netanyahu? Sorry, forgive me.
No. The idea is that if the Iranians comply, then we're going to have a true transport deal for the Middle East.
All right, so how's that going to happen? Because Hezbollah is clearly still bombing Israel.
And if not, they don't get any economic benefits. The United States, we got what we came to do, and we're done. And that's the basic approach.
We would not turn on the spigot if Hezbollah in Israel turn over.
Well, what I would say is, if Iran is funding Hezbollah, we're not going to allow all different assets to freeze the Iranians, right?
And there it is. There is a clause, Vice President Vance, basically, that you want to not fund their proxy armies. And if they fund their proxy armies, then war's back. All right, so again, we are not getting the full picture. We don't exactly know what's going on with this deal. What we do know is that it's really weird that Vance is saying that they want to go until every bomb's been dropped, every Iranian is dead. I don't know who's saying that, to be honest. It sounds a little like Marco men who's crashing out the last couple of days, screaming at Trump for ending the war, which is insane, because the war's not over. But anywho, again, let me just understand the show that he went on, right? This is Megyn Kelly, all right? This is the show that J.D. Vance decided to go on as the face of the deal.
Mr. Trump, one of the things people love about you is you speak your mind and you don't use a politician's filter. However, that is not without its downsides, in particular when it comes to women. You've called women you don't like fat pigs, dogs, slobs, and disgusting animals. Your Twitter account will leave Rosie O'Donnell.
So Megyn Kelly has had it out for Trump since 2016, trying to call him a misogynist on the world stage. All right, just understand what we're dealing with. And in fact, Megyn Kelly has been having a lot of really interesting episodes lately. This is Megyn Kelly laughing about Trump dying soon. And this was just months ago.
With the midterms all but lost already, what happens to Trump now?
We're just not good at predicting the future. You imagine this is going to happen in November in the midterms, and maybe not. Trump turns 80 next month. That would be his great birthday. I don't wish Trump ill. However, he will be gone relatively soon. And we still have this country. I don't think things are going well. I think they could be a lot worse. I can imagine other leaders who are both malicious and incompetent. Trump is incompetent. Gavin Newsom is not incompetent. And he's far more malicious than Trump. I think he's far less transparent. I don't know. We just need to keep our wits about us and not ping pong from one bad idea to another bad idea.
Terrible approval numbers.
So that's really, really weird. I gotta understand what's going on here. Kind of giggling about how Trump's feeling nice and Gavin Newsom more competent than Trump, and it's are we serious here? And again, Megyn Kelly, once again, you have to understand what's been going on.
Islam is not consistent with the values of America, of the West.
All right, so that was before. Before Islam not consistent, not you can't have Islam in the West. Right, that was their big thing.
Countries that don't care about protecting free speech, they should stay in countries that don't care about women's rights. That's where Islam can fester and grow. It's great. I mean, I'm sure if that's your thing, you don't care about genital mutilation, you might really enjoy living in an Islamic country. If you don't mind living in a life as a woman where you have to keep every inch of your body except for your eyeballs covered, yeah, this someplace in the Middle East could be for you. It's not my thing. It's not America's thing. And it's not a thing that we should want to encourage in the West. I think he's understanding there may be some real listeners over here. He's gotten very, very popular lately, I read, with Muslim viewers. Because he's been standing up for Islam. And I have to tell you, Mark, it's been something I've noticed just since I've gotten started more clear-eyed on Israel that a lot of the anti-Muslim rhetoric that's put out there originates with people who are very, very pro-Israel.
You were putting it out there. The whole hijab, genital mutilation, child sex slavery thing. You were talking about that 2 months ago.
There's no such thing as Islamophobia. You are not only entitled to quote fear Islam, I would argue it's your duty as a Christian to stand up and fight against it. He's having a lot of Muslim viewers flock to him, and so while he may have lost some contingent of the Fox News audience that's very, very pro-Israel.
Yeah, anyway, it is just wild watching this about face that she's had lately, and Janie mentioned it. I'm just saying, it's really weird. It's really weird. And Macon Kelly's always been a state. Right? This was her promoting and celebrating trans kids a couple of years ago.
People with me on stage right now are all transgender kids who want others to know it is possible to transition socially with love and support and acceptance within a family and a community. Please welcome 16-year-old Nicole, 12-year-old Daniel, 14-year-old Gia, 15-year-old Landon, and 13-year-old Stella.
Yeah, so that's Macon Kelly and a bunch of groomed children all sitting together, talking about stuff. And again, just understand exactly what we're dealing with. So, a lot of people are asking, why is J.D. Vance the only face of the Iran deal? Where's Rubio? The guy who's been completely silent? The guy who's actually been managing the conflict that is now silent? All right. The deal so far is receiving wall-to-wall criticism in general. What is I legit think Trump made this in very much on purpose. It's definitely interesting to watch develop, especially because, once again, no deal is signed yet. We don't have the information on what it actually says in the deal yet. The deal, quote unquote, is a 60-day memorandum of understanding where we decide on where we actually stand later. It's just a theory, a conspiracy theory. But hey, you watch me for my honesty. And honestly, there's something going on here that no one is talking about that we don't really know. And I'm very excited to see where it wraps up. I don't think Trump trusts the Islamic Republic of Iran like J.D. Vance seems to imply. So I urge you two things. One, stay level-headed about it. Have faith in God. All right, stay level-headed. Figure this shit out. That's one. Two, you have a moral obligation to make fun of retarded people. That includes the dipshit saying that we were going to lose an infinitely long 1,000-year war with troops on the ground and nuclear fallout. And you have to make fun of the retards that are absolutely spiraling and crashing out before we even know what it says in the deal. Vance has been one interesting cookie, and we'll see where it goes from here. But the show will be entertaining as now, in the United Kingdom, there is possibly the biggest story of the century. And of course, literally no one in the mainstream media anywhere, not in England, not in America, is actually reporting on it. So we got to do the thing that's saving the West, and that is citizen journalism. I don't normally say this, but trigger warning, you're about to see something really dark that I was literally talking about for years. All right, so John Arlo did a bit on Restore Britain, and it's pretty incredible. So Restore Britain, for those of you that are unaware, is the quote-unquote far-right party. Right, they're the far-right fascists that wants rape to stop. I know it's a radical position these days. Obviously, the left does not support that stance. And the craziest thing is every time they make an ad, or they make fun, or they try their absolute best to make the Restore Britain far-right party look bad, it just basically ends up an advertisement. Somebody's like, he's a radical. Saying, stop fucking your cousins. What a radical nutcase. What am I even supposed to say? It's crazy. Everything just ends up in advertisement. Such a savage. What's the rapists? Yes, I'll take two. Alright, so Rupert Lowe posted the Rape Gang Inquiry Report will be published today, and then he published it. And this forever changed the course of England. The Rape Gang Inquiry Report. Currently, as it stands, this report has 14.4 million views. This one tweet alone. Oh, I'm sorry. 27. I just refreshed the page. 27.9 million views. All right, everyone needs to know about this. It won't be reported anywhere, so hey, it's my event. All right. So this guy does a summary. For the record, I actually read through it. Or it's massive. It's hundreds of pages. But I have to show you the highlights. And by highlights, I mean the depths of depravity the government basically went to allow the rape of a civilization. So, to start things off, the numbers. 250,000 plus girls have been raped, trafficked, and tortured over decades. For those of you counting, there are as many victims to the grooming gangs as there were victims to nuclear strikes on Nagasaki and Hiroshima in World War II. To understand, this is over 10 times the amount of civilian casualties that happened in Gaza over what all these leftoids are freaking out about. For the record, this has 100,000 times the amount of victims as Jeffrey Epstein, the guy that was, understandably freaking out about. Except, arguably, it's even worse than that because the government covered it. People can't even begin to understand the scale of this and the evil that we are witnessing. All right? Now, understand, this is the estimate. It's the floor. It's never been counted. The same crime in 149 different districts. That's 40% of the country. All right? These aren't dozens of isolated local scandals. This happened on a national level. Treated for STIs at 13, sent home the same night, back to her abusers. That's what hospitals did. Children's homes became trafficking hubs. The girls were arrested and the rapists walked. Pregnancy was used as a weapon to control them, and the state took their children. Red rooms, daily rape, filmed for blackmail happened. A child disclosed rape at school, they excluded the child. I'm pretty sure every day they kicked them out of school. Whistleblowers got dawn raids, the rapists got bail. 90% of convicted offenders had Muslim names, and they are 60% of the UK population. Now understand, the actual estimates for the amount of Muslims in these rape gangs were 95%, but 90% had actual Muslim names. It turns out the religion that actually supports taking sex slavery and taking Jews and Christians and other infidels as inferior people and as cattle that supports pedophilia to the point that their most revered man in history was a pedophile. Turns out when you import them en masse, they rape your country. It's insane to think about it. We need to make the Nuremberg trials look like a picnic. No one must escape the death penalty. You just read this. Now, just understand, it's 200 plus pages of this, and it will break you. 53. You, Mohammed Karar, prepared her for gang anal rape by using a pump to expand her anal passage. You subjected her to gang rape by 5 or 6 men. At one point, she had 4 men inside her. He was 15 years old. 54. Mohammed Karar. On one occasion, when she was 12, after raping her, she threatened you with a lock knife. Your reaction was to pick up a baseball bat with a silver metal handle, strike her on the head with it, and insert the baseball bat inside her vagina. It is hundreds of pages of this. Some of the most unbelievable, barbaric atrocities you can possibly imagine are just happening daily, covered up by the British government. And this is not just in England, this is in every single European country, and this is happening in America too. On a lower scale, 1% of our population is Muslim as opposed to, 6.5% of England. Well, look, 6.5% of the population did. So many people need to be fucking executed. Everyone's tired of this. These horrific crimes have only escalated in recent decades, especially following Tony Blair's 1997 victory and starting the orchestrated mass migration. Interesting. With greater numbers, there came greater opportunities for abuse perpetrators, built organized networks that transported victims between towns and cities. That's girls between adult men. Each of these areas, the same tactics were used. Girls as young as 11, targeted gifts, alcohol, drugs, collected in taxis and school gates, care homes, streets taken to houses, flats, restaurants, hotels, been raped repeatedly by groups of men, passed between perpetrators, trafficked across country lines, in many cases impregnated or forced into abortions. Most victims endured violence or were filmed for blackmail or were told they were white trash or kofar, meaning a non-believer in Arabic, who deserve punishment. The authority at every level, including the police, social security, health services, schools, listening bodies, and politicians, knew the patterns, possessed the intelligence, and still failed to protect the country's children. It's literally state-sponsored generational rape. Understand, bro. Taylor, before they raped me, they would chant Bismillah, Rahman, Rahim. Translation of the most name on the name of Allah, the most gracious and most merciful. So praising Allah while raping children is lawless, like taking child sex slaves as part of the religion or something. That's weird. Now understand how bad it got. While Keir Starmer was the director of public prosecutions, he's currently the prime minister, by the way, it had been reported 13,000 suspected rape gang members and pedophiles were let off with warning letters. It's just part of the culture. I don't actually necessarily offended you. It's part of the culture to make something. I'll give them a warning then. They just raped the kid with a baseball bat. Understand what's going on here, man. Around 87% of those convicted in these groups based child sexual exploitation cases were distinctly Muslim names. Yeah, and the vast majority of it involved in these gangs were not convicted. Dr. Hargaving at Imam of the Oxford Islamic Congregation believes the true proportion of gang members were Muslims 95%. Understand, Pakistani Muslim adult men are under 3% of the population of the country and did 95% of the child gang rapes. You're going to sit here and you're going to scoff and you're going to tell me this isn't a real thing. To the shock of many, only 87 to 95% of the rape gang members in the UK were Muslim. This was a shock to everyone. No one saw this coming. Now understand the scale here. 250,000 white girls raped. There are 800,000 Pakistani males in the UK. Every single one. Man. Remigration, sending them back to their homelands, that is the moderate position. That is the bleeding heart liberal position. And if it was up to me, they would never walk again. All right, this is insane, by the way. All right, now understand, they've known about this forever.
The parents would be next to 250,000 girls raped in this century, very largely by Muslim men. And given the
Then everyone in the parliament, oh, how dare you make this a race issue? It is infinitely worse than your nightmares, okay? It's worse than your nightmares. Our ignorant report proves without a doubt there is an undeniable link between religion and the rape gangs. Islam is a country we need to finally have the courage to say so. It's literally common sense and obvious truth. The reward for tolerance is treachery and betrayal. We need to wake up, man. It's insane that people are just snoozing through this. The media didn't talk about it. The rape gang inquiry, what happens next? I intend to use my parliamentary privilege to name perpetrators and their enablers in the chamber. This will be done incredibly carefully, but I will be involved every step of the way to ensure no future prosecutions are jeopardized. We are cooperating with the authorities in order to help cases be opened and reopened, but my faith in the system is not high. That is why we are pushing and pursuing private prosecutions and civil litigation. A target list has been identified and continues to grow. This has been handled very carefully for obvious reasons. I'm determined to act. We have enough talk, and we need to act. Our aim is straightforward. Put people in prison, deliver justice finally. People act, not talk. And it's insane watching this happen. Now, while that took place, the same day, the ruling gang inquiry list was placed. This is a clip from Mohammed Hijab, popular British Muslim guy.
Take culture. Yeah, ethically, I think Saudis are superior. Saudis are superior because they're Muslims.
Yeah, no, I know they're superior. My question to you is, do you think they are ethically superior?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, of course.
And you want yeah. It's one of the Muslims. They're all ethically superior because they're Muslims. Doesn't matter if they have raped or done my country. They're ethically superior. That's just how it works. That's just how it works. The politicians who turn a blind eye to the rape of Britain must go to prison. And Rupert Lowe is coming for their fucking heads. This 20 million views, by the way. Hold up. We reload the page. Watch the number double. All right, you don't understand how big this is. 28 million views.
This report is only faithful, and it goes into the main causes of probably the most extensive, widespread scam that's ever beset Britain. It goes to every corner of the country. It's moved insiders, it's everywhere. And it involves failure by the British establishment.
That's right.
Obviously, government ministers of civil service, local government, social services, the police, the judiciary, the NHS, and the media. Yes, those two, the Guardian, I feel much reading.
Yeah.
Scams in the police, but they simply failed to do. The enforce goes into the reasons what's happened. It goes into the reasons why it's happening. That was all the reasons. You realize that it's taking very grateful to the experts in there, being the survivors from very much to where all my fellow MPs and trained. And most of all, got to ground snagging these marathon reducers the water with help from and this is the inquiry team as well. I'm immensely grateful and it's been a very early experience. Some of the testimonies we heard were beyond me. And It is an emotion to dealt with now. I want to let you know that this isn't the end of really making pursuing those people who would fail us. They will
That's right. That's right. Public meetings. Sorry, my bad.
This was funded by 20,000 concerned citizens.
Damn.
Well, it raised £6 million.
Understand, this report only exists because civilians funded a guy going against the system.
Jay, it's the taxpayer fund, it's $6 million. We still have some instances to Congress to receive up this information and to start process of prosecuting those people who are fakes. We're also intend to naming.
That's right. Yes.
So that everyone knows those people who are listening. They should have dealt with this, but failed to do it. So it's been a long, hard, rigorous 16 years. I want to thank everybody. And I hope that every member is Rebecca for trying to read this.
I'm trying my best here. I'm trying. You have to know about this. The civilians are saving the West. Wake up, white man. All right, it's time.
Statutory fire enforced while or a statutory fire, which by the way has had a terms of reference with them, and we will likely the government say this being kicked down the road by the time years ago people get involved. People who make decisions about decisions which is called government. As we've seen with the post office, we've seen infected blood and countless other scams that we clean up. But then it leads from over to the cameras. And realistically, these things continue now. So, think,
Read it.
please,
Jared,
understand.
everyone needs to know.
It is pure, driven, unsettling.
True. Literally true. And it's self-induced. It's self-induced. The people at the top wanted power, wanted votes, wanted to be tolerant people so bad that they imported literally millions of rapists. You can't even possibly frame this differently. And they raped 250,000 girls in this one country, in a small country compared to the United States. 250,000 girls raped. That's like every single classroom had a girl that got angry. All right, now just you have to understand the level of evil, that was perpetrated here, because a couple of politicians wanted votes, and because the media wanted to be woke and ran the fence for it, and no one knew what was happening, and it was happening en masse, covered up, protected, while the savages and barbarians ravaged the land. And understand it's happening here too. There are almost certainly gangs here in America as well, in smaller scale, because there's 1% of the population, but they're growing immensely. Understand, this was 6% of the population did. Now, of course, the mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, decided that he was going to make something very clear. Just on the same day that the rape gang inquiry was released. Get ready for this. The World Search for the Best of London, our €7 million global campaign, will challenge the rise of disinformation about our capital. He is spending £7 billion for what? To prove that diversity works? You think that if diversity works, it would be free to show it. You would need £7 billion to lie about diversity working, right? Diversity is such a strength that it's £7 billion global public relations propaganda campaign to convince you of it. Dude! And the quote tweets of this, every single one, and all of them in shock. To give you an idea of the scale, during the rape of Nanking, Japanese soldiers were estimated to break 20 to 80,000 Chinese women. This report estimates that 250,000 women victimized by these Muslim rape gangs. Right? And some of them just list some of the crazy ones that actually stick out. Like, for example, how they were branded M for Muhammad. What the actual fuck, dude? This is insane. Absolute insanity. 87 to 95% of them were Muslim. All right, social services called the 13-year-old girl racist and recommended contraceptives to her instead of denouncing her Pakistani rapists. Social services returned the girl to a grooming gang to not be racist, and suddenly for no reason at all, they voted for Hitler. Are we really surprised the direction this would go if it keeps getting shut down like this? Really? This is approximately 1,000,000 times worse than Epstein. It's not even remotely close to scale of nature of crimes. Powerful institutions that look at. And yet something tells me that many of the Epstein obsessives will have nothing to say about this at all. Yes, because Islam is a cash cow. Because Islam is huge. Because there's billions of Muslims and billions of Pakistanis watching Tucker Carlson. Will not bring this. He has time to interview every Iranian state agent and fucking retard on the planet and talk about Israel or something. But no time for a little thing like this. I'm sure that all the leftists, like I saw, that have been calling Donald Trump a pedophile. I'm sure they're going to be on top of this one. I'm sure they are going to be very, very excited to talk about this. Now understand, this is happening everywhere. This is the father of the Pakistani gang rapist. All right, this is what he had to say. This is pretty telling, actually.
So you don't see it, right?
I don't.
She's 13. She's 13 years old.
Well, yes, obviously, that is some discussion with the ice, but as far as the grooming is concerned, it's going over the grooming is going over the police is going over the just because it's an isolation.
Yeah, they didn't deport this guy, by the way. They just said it's a difference in culture. This dude's like, yeah, she was 13, but like, well, not like she consented, okay? But she consented. To which she probably didn't consent. And also, fuck you, you pedophile. What are we doing? Allegedly. Now, to understand how accepted it is in this culture that they're reporting, the first Pakistani lord ever in England was a convicted Groovy Gang member. Can't pick it up. He retains his title. Tony Blair made a Pakistani pedophile from Rather and a Baron. You can't even make this up. It's like I'm vomiting in my own mouth. And Reform have today said that when they want the worst gay rape offenders to face whole life sentences for me, they must be put to death. It's now understand this is happening here too, obviously. An Islamist actually won the top Democrat ticket. Ruah Ron, born in Jordan, won the Democrat primary for Georgia State Senate. Just understand the way the conquest works. And of course, it's also important to humiliate retards. I think that's a my God given right, and we have to do it. So Owen Jones, as you can see from Owen Jones, is a leftoid socialist, anti-fascist, yeah, okay. This whole narrative was pushed by the far right and then taken on by the mainstream media as facts. What community law child exploitation has been exposed for right? So in 2020, Roe was talking down racism that we're using Pakistanis from his society. Meanwhile, let me remind you, 87 to 95% of the grooming gangs are Pakistani Muslims. And Roe's like, now understand, it's all of this. It's all of the left, especially the Islamic left, that defends this. The blind eye makes things up. And well, now we have all the evidence. All right, so this is Jay Gilder denying rape gangs exist.
Signed 250,000 of your women are being raped by Muslim, but it's okay.
And utterly ridiculous statements. Right. Well, now we know it's true.
As I've said repeatedly, so let's look at sexual crime against women. Don't chase the vast majority of sexual crime against women in my country is committed by white men.
Oh, I don't understand per capita. Also, I include every instance of sexual harassment and catcalling as sexual crime. So yeah, at that point you're right. Most of it is white men. 90+% of the country is white men.
It's disproportionately committed all Muslims against white Christian girls. Otherwise, racist genocide. Let me
Say it's not true. All right, and they all do this, by the way. This is Betty Hassan saying it doesn't exist.
Yeah, very vast majority are actually British pass. So don't say something you can try to deflect it into thinking it's some other time doing all right. So in Glasgow, there were white men, 11 people abused 3 children, one of them in back and died. Lots of white men about Elon Musk. In the West Midlands, in West Midlands,
Adjourn.
Stupid motherfuckers, what are you doing? Y'all chill the fuck out. Oh, you know what? I gotta give y'all no cat if you don't want it. Y'all want some cat, man? I got you. I got you, bro. Got you one way or another. Fucking shit over. Caught it on opposite side. Yeah, yeah, I'm gonna roll your number. So, well, yeah. All right. Now that I got you guys laced, stop going crazy. Stranger at the bar gave me some weed. Hope it's good. It's all right. Need some fresh water too while I'm at it, because I know you're gonna be wanting some fresh water.
kill points for MGE. Hate to do it, gotta do it. As much as I hate finding a farm account, I hate doubling as well. So it's using QSH in my rally. Uh, That's close. I thought I was just hey, leave it alone. That's not food. You make it throw up. You want to throw up? No, I don't think so. Leave it alone. Yes, I am rolling a joint. Do you smell the ganja? You have no choice but to smell it. Okay. No, I gave you some catnip, but just up and down, up and down. Usually it's just down. Ain't good shit, you know. It's a good shit. You know what I'm gonna do with it? Smoke it. You know, smoke that shit. Can you say smoke that shit? Smoke that shit. And the paper right here. Weed and paper. Let's get all that. Yeah. And your brother's so high, he's just stuck in a corner. Can't move. He was running around a second ago, now he's stuck. Immobilized by the cat lady. Absolutely. You okay, buddy? You look super high. You alright, buddy? You. Open the door so you can get some fresh air. Yeah. So it's early morning, starting around time is it? 7-Eleven. Crazy. Setting up senior rally. Really, really. Smells are good. Chicken rain.